Yo, what is going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to show you what it looks like to take down 90% win rate duo smurfs. In this game, the enemies Zach and Samira were both 90% win rate, and I'm just going to be showing you guys kind of what to look for and what you should do when you're playing against people who collectively are better than you and your team. Obviously, I could, if these guys were on their own, I could crush them, but together, there's no way me and my teammates can beat them in the long run, and their comp's very good as well. This game is actually not that game. I just wanted to show you guys this little teaser of exactly why I like to mute all in my games, because of things my teammates do and say. In this example, I go for Scuttle straight after a full clear on Evelyn, very standard. I didn't want to gank top lane because Xin Zhao and Aatrox are really hard to fight 2v2, and we would absolutely lose that. So Wukong, he pinged for a gank. I didn't come, obviously, which you can see on the mini map. He misses his flash, and then he proceeds to poop his pants a little bit, and then he did the absolute least damage on our team, less damage than Bard at the end of the game. And that is why I generally full mute my teammates, or at the very least, I mute their chat and pings once they start doing stuff like that. Otherwise, you're going to get jungle coaching advice from your teammates who are not even jungler players. Even though these games might seem unwinnable because one of your teammates is doing something silly and blaming you for it, as long as you don't argue back with them, they'll oftentimes focus on the game and try not to intentionally troll you, which is how you'll ultimately end up winning the majority of these games as long as you stay focused. And we did, of course. We won this game. Me and Ezreal were manhandling them in the late game, while Wukong mostly kind of just split push. In this game, we open up with a very standard start. We start our recall around the 55-second mark while keeping watch in a bush. Then we lay our ward towards the end of our recall and get a sweeper. The sweeper will allow us to gank. To give you the straight, honest answer, the way you beat players who should beat you is by running the early and mid game. Once everyone's full build, if they have a better comp or the better players, they will just straight up win the game. So you really need to get the heralds. You should be trying to end the game before Dragon Soul or Elder is even a thing. If it gets to that point, you're going to lose anyway. So make sure you get the first two heralds. The first one you have to get before the 13-minute mark, which will allow you to get the second one since they're on a 6-minute timer, and at the 20-minute mark you can no longer get them. Generally, duo smurfs will have worse teammates in their side lanes or inconsistent players. The system does that to try to balance it out. That's the one downside to being a duo, is your teammates are usually not the best, or they're very susceptible to being ganked. So generally you don't want to focus too much time on their best players. You just want to do your best of killing their worst players. So in this game, Samira, Zach are their best. Ideally, I should be avoiding them if possible, unless it is absolutely free. As you can see, the Zach and Samira are already playing around each other and getting some gold. By no means did I play perfect this game. In fact, I had a couple of pretty sizable mistakes here when I was coming to help out the Qiyana. I had to be disciplined and be willing to walk away. Even if Yasuo is low, with the way he can cycle out his passive, it's very challenging to kill him if you don't have any hard CC. So he starts to get away. I go ahead and chase, and this mistake was just really bad. Just one of those situations you put yourself in a spot where you might be able to get a kill. The situation kind of turns bad because the teammate dies, and then you force yourself to kind of ride it out. But when a situation goes bad, the best thing you can do for you and your team is to pull out. There's nothing worse than riding a bad situation. The best thing you can do is just pull out and let that bad situation be as small and minimized as possible. At this point, I didn't really want to see what teammates had to say, so I went ahead and muted all. If you're not playing well, or if you feel like your teammates might be about to retaliate on you, there's just really no reason to see it. You just need to focus. When the game is definitely unwinnable, the longer it goes on, you want to try to avoid taking dragons. The only reason we took this one is their Zac is top lane, and Herald isn't actually spawned in yet because it's not the 8-minute mark. Herald doesn't spawn until the 8-minute mark. Dragon spawns in at 5. Dragon is on a 5-minute timer. Herald is on a 6-minute timer. So we obviously can't get the heralds. We do dragons and Zac's top. Otherwise, if Herald is up and if you can safely take it over dragon, definitely do it. People are less likely to resist you on Herald. People go crazy for dragons for whatever reason. You could have 3 dragons that doesn't do anything. And here Brand's just kind of spooking Yasuo, walking in and out of the bushes, putting us in a rough spot. If Zach landed that Q, I would have definitely died. He would have slammed me into the Brand there. So really not a good spot. You can start to see the skill expression with the Zach. He's pretty good. And you haven't really seen the Samira yet this game, but trust me, it gets pretty bad. Another thing you need to do is constantly avoid fights you know you're going to lose. Even if a teammate's going to die, that's okay, as long as they're getting something in return. Their Zac's been camping their bot lane for most of this game, but there's no way me, Vayne, and Brand could 3v3 the Zac, Leona, and Samira. They have way more AoE, and they're a lot tankier. So I just went ahead, and tried to avoid bot as much as possible unless I knew where Zach was. And now I know Zach's bot, I took his camps, and I can push into a free herald. This is something that Zach and his team needed to do a better job of. They clearly had the late game against us, and I know you're going to say Nasus scales very well. Honestly, if your team has a lot of CC, which the enemy team has a ridiculous amount with the Skarner, Zach, Leona, and Yasuo, in that case, Nasus doesn't really scale. He's only tanky and strong if he gets to use his auto attacks and his Qs, and if he's CC'd, he can't do that. He's not just naturally tanky like a Malphite. So he's pretty useless in team fights where the enemies have too much CC. So they actually way outscales this game. Our only win condition is through heralds essentially and trying to tempo down the game. The best thing they could have done was ignore early dragons, and whenever a herald was up, try to prioritize that, because if they could have stopped us from getting heralds, our win condition was out the window, and all they have to do is just buy time and try to make it to 20-30 minute mark and whatnot. I spend a lot of my time this game trying to gank for one of our better laners, which is the Qiyana, and she's not playing against one of the Smurfs, so it's an easier gank. So I just go mid a lot, we kill Yasuo. I knew Zach was going to go bot again. We saw Yasuo rotating, so I ping us to take down mid turrets. This is exactly what I mean. Don't go to fights you know you're not going to win. Even if they get a couple kills bots, if we were there, we were going to die too and get nothing. Instead, they get a few kills and we get to lay down the herald pressure. So if they stay bot, we just base race and win, or they have to come to us and they're still going to lose 1 to 2 turrets, which is what happens. This also got us a bunch of turret plate gold since I laid this before the 14-minute mark. We got a bunch of gold off mid lane turret, and this is going to allow me to move around the map easier in my invisibility because they no longer have turrets mid. I can kind of cross over whenever I want. For those of you who haven't played Evelynn before, Zach is one of her worst matchups if he doesn't fall behind early game. He gets a bunch of magic resists, and when he's on his aftershock, whenever he CCs somebody, he's way too tanky for you to fight. So basically, once he's 1 or 2 items, you've already lost the game. It's not a great matchup for Eve. If she doesn't get any early kills or anything like that, she just loses by default. So at this point, we're just trying to avoid him. Once he has his R or he's fed, you can't kill him. He can certainly kill you, and he'll beat you in 2v2s, 3v3s, and team fights. So just avoid him as much as possible and use your invisibility and mobility and keep getting the heralds. Zach and his team was mostly bot lane, and we knew they were going there through our vision and game sense, so there's no reason to be there. We know we're going to lose the fight. Instead, we go mid, we butcher their Yasuo. We've already taken a couple of their turrets, so now we can get their inhib turret, their mid inhib turret, which is arguably the most important turret in the game. Mid inhib opens up the map greatly, and this will give us a lot of map pressure. If you have better scaling, you don't really want to take their inhibitor before the 20-minute mark, or I should say the 19-minute mark, because you can't get Baron, and now your supers are just shoving waves to them, so you're not getting golden XP off the wave, and they are. So generally, you don't really want to take inhib pre like 19-minute mark. If you are, it's generally bad if you scale as well as them or scale better. But in this game, since we lose by default, we kind of just have to take what we can get when we can get it. So we did that. The second herald is spawning in right now. The only reason why I'm not going to it is the enemies aren't split up enough. Vayne's bot lane right now, so I was going to wait in this bush to get a pick on the Samira. She's doing a really good job of staying with her support though, or I should say Leona's doing a good job of staying with her. So we're not able to find too many free picks. The only person we're getting free picks on is the Yasuo because he's trying to catch back up by farming. Once we see on the minimap no one's going to contest this bot lane turret that Vayne is taking, we go ahead and leave. And at this point, we're hoping someone on the enemy team goes to stop Vayne bot and we can grab a free herald. The best thing the enemies could do right now to preserve their agency in this game is to grab the herald. They should not leave that up. As the team that is going to outscale and currently is in a pretty good spot in the game, you don't want the bad like late game scaling team get the herald. That's their literal only win condition, unless I guess another win condition is if someone on your team randomly dies, but that's not realistic if you're playing in higher elo, so or in smurf queue it's not as realistic. It doesn't happen as much, and especially if they have a smurf duo, they can corral their team better, because if 2 of them are making good decisions, then it's easier for 3 players to follow that rather than 4 players following 1 player who's making good decisions. So at this point, dragon's coming up. It's very clear they're probably going to go for it. They want dragon soul. This obviously isn't the soul, but they're building towards it, and people just don't prioritize herald properly. They don't give it respect, and yeah, they just don't know what they're missing. It's how you end games. That's how you can consistently end your games. 20-minute mark or sooner if you and your team's ahead, and if your team's not ahead, you can generally end at 30-minute mark or sooner, which is pretty good when you consider so many games just drag on forever and ever and ever, and games would drag on even longer if people in solo queue wouldn't randomly get caught out and die late game. That's how honestly most games end, is just someone randomly dies on your team for no reason. But here, for example, Leona's out of position. We rocket belt into her. We get the pick. There's really no reason for me to go on Zach or anyone else. I couldn't have killed them. Leona was the only one low enough. At this point, I are away from Zach, and as you can see, I can't really kill him. I mean, I might have been able to kill his blobs if I stayed on him, but his teammates are there. So if I did kill Zach, I think I would have died for it and blown my stacks. So I don't think it's really worth. We do get the Leona though. That fight just kind of goes to show these fights are not going to work. I get like Nasus wasn't there, but still Nasus can't do anything. They have way too much AoE CC with Leona R, Zac AoE CC, Yasuo AoE CC. So best thing we can do is stay alive, try to shove waves. Right now they're going to be on Dragon, so I can't really push bot lane. Instead, I just kind of got to back off. In my opinion, this was one of the worst plays of the game. Brand and Vayne kind of got picked out of nowhere in mid lane. They weren't even under turret or even really near turret for that matter. There's a couple of control wards in the area. We have really no map pressure. Qiyana kind of randomly goes in on their Leona of all people. It's just a tough situation. They have more HP. There's more of them. She gets a nice little semi pick onto the Samir and then kind of blames me for not going in. I guess I unmuted them. I don't know why, but literally, if I followed that, I would have guaranteed died. They're tanky enough to where they could take like 40 plus turret shots without any of them dying. So yeah, I guess my mid laner wanted me to die to maybe get a kill. I go ahead and R and then I die anyways because Zach lands a Q on me and bashes me into turret. I thought I was buying time for Nasus, but it really wasn't worth dying there. That was really, really bad of me. Baron is up. This is generally where people throw the game. They don't really need it and they go for it anyways. They'll be winning every single team fight and we don't even have that much wave clear, but the enemies are grouping up on it. We should absolutely not be fighting for this. I'm trying to ping my teammates off. The best thing we can do is avoid this fight. Leona's a little bit out of position, so I hit her with the blue smite, rocket belt, land my charm. Killing her honestly isn't that big of a deal. It's gonna set it up to where hopefully my team doesn't get picked. But I mean, they still kind of beat us in fights. But Yasuo and Leona are dead, so now we're fighting a 5v3 with the Vayne shredding the Zac. So we get a nice couple of picks. I immediately drop the Herald to kind of get my teammates in the mindset like we need to end now. We absolutely do not win team fights. We only won that fight because two of them were already dead and like two of them weren't even there. It was basically just Zac and Samira, the duo kind of through there. We get our Herald down, it bashes inhib. I put charm on Yasuo to try to push him off as he steps up. I smack him with Q tipper range, kind of waste my R, but as you can see, Herald is absolutely demolishing the turrets. Unfortunately, the turret did shoot it down because Herald didn't headbutt the second one for some reason, even though it was in range. But the double Herald allowed us to end this game at the 21-minute mark, even when the enemy team was just super far ahead and we couldn't team fight them. And that is how you beat teams you shouldn't be able to beat, by giving up dragons and prioritizing heralds. The game shouldn't last long enough for them to get a soul or Eldar anyways. If it does, you're going to lose regardless. If you guys are interested in taking your gameplay to the next level and you want some coaching, check out the document in the pinned comment and description down below. My name is KingStix. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.